So I hear you're heading to Mount Shasta, are you? Well, did your parents tell you all about the strange things that happen on the mountain and in the surrounding areas? I bet you they didn't. So let me, Mr. Tales, inform you all about it. Get cozy, grab a blanket, and open your ears because I'm going to tell you stories of UFOs, Bigfoot, and weird tall people whose skin glows bright like the moon. All true stories. And every single one of them happened on Mount Shasta. For generations, people have told stories about strange tall beings who are said to live inside Mount Shasta. Some believe they are the Lemurians, a mysterious, ancient people from a lost land beneath the ocean. Reports of Lemurian sightings around the mountain go back as far as the late 1800s, when settlers and explorers wrote about tall, glowing figures walking near the slopes before vanishing into the trees. Our first story is about a little girl named Sarah from New York, who was vacationing and camping with her parents. I like to call it the secret friends in the mountain. It all started one day when Sarah went for a hike on a trail near Mount Shasta with her dad on a sunny afternoon. As Sarah was walking, she stopped to tie her shoelace, and that's when something magical happened. As she was kneeling down and tying her shoelace, she heard the sound of soft singing, like voices floating on the breeze. Curious, Sarah peeked behind a big rock where the singing was coming from and saw two tall people dressed in long white robes. The robes glowed like the moonlight, even in the daytime. As Sarah stood there in shock, one of the robed beings smiled and waved at her. Sarah was scared at first, but then had a sense of peacefulness inside. Sarah conjured up the courage and waved back, and in the blink of an eye, they were gone. Her dad noticed Sarah was missing. Frantically, he ran looking for her and went behind the rock where Sarah was, and noticed Sarah was staring in the distance, not moving, not even making a sound, so he ran over. "What are you looking at, Sarah, and where have you been?" Sarah just smiled and said, "Dad, I made some new friends, but they disappeared. Maybe one day I'll see them again." Sarah's dad said, "That's nice, sweetie, but it's time to go." As they made their way down the mountain, Sarah hoped that one day she'd see them again whenever she hiked up Mount Shasta. What will you do if you see these mysterious beings while you're walking around Mount Shasta? Will you be scared? Or will you wave to them just like Sarah did? Let us know in the comments. If you like what you're hearing, give us a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe to our channel so you can listen to other destination tales for your next vacation. Now, back to our tales. Mount Shasta is also famous for mysterious lights in the sky. Strange glowing orbs have been reported for over 70 years. In fact, as early as the 1930s and 1940s, locals described unusual lights moving around the peak, long before satellites or drones existed. For decades, campers and hikers have continued to tell of flashing colors hovering over the mountain. Some say they are UFOs, while others believe they are spirits of the mountain itself. Whatever they are, they don't act like regular stars or airplanes. If you thought the story of Sarah was mysterious, wait until you hear about the story of a boy named Thomas from Idaho, who saw real UFOs in the sky while he was camping at Mount Shasta in the night sky. I like to call this story the night the stars danced. One night on Mount Shasta, Thomas and his family were camping, looking up at the stars. After dinner, Thomas stretched out on his sleeping bag, lying down, stargazing. As he did so, suddenly, a bright blue light zoomed across the sky right by the mountain. Then more lights showed up in the sky, right next to the mountain. Thomas saw red and green ones twirling and looping like they were playing tag with one another. "Look!" Thomas yelled. His parents looked up frantically and saw the lights Thomas was shouting about. His parents thought they were shooting stars, but Thomas knew better. These lights moved too fast and stopped in midair. Shooting stars don't do that, nor do airplanes. These were real UFOs. As they watched the lights continue to move around and blink, one of the lights dipped low over the trees and blinked 3 times, as if it were saying hello to Thomas and his family. Thomas's heart was pounding with fear and excitement, but he mustered the courage to smile and wave at the lights, and at that very second, the lights shot off high in the sky and disappeared. Thomas's parents sat there staring at the sky, not believing what they had just seen. The very next day, they reported the lights to the local authorities. That same day, Thomas and his parents started packing up their bags to head back home. Thomas, quite excited about what he had seen the night before, hoped that he would see those mysterious lights in the sky again. So, if you're lying down, camping with your family, make sure to look up into the night sky to see if you can spot these weird and mysterious lights. And if you do, be quick and take pictures. Then email them to stories@talesforyourtrip.com so we can post them on our website for other travelers to see. I myself experienced a weird light one night while camping at Mount Shasta. As I was taking night photos of the mountain, I captured a weird light right in the middle of the mountain. If you'd like to see it, head on over to talesforyourtrip.com and make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Now for our third and final story about Mount Shasta that I saved for last is about an actual real Bigfoot spotted in a campground in Mount Shasta. I like to call this one the Hairy Mountain Helper. Reports of giant hairy creatures in Northern California stretch back to the 1800s, when loggers and miners first came to the region. By the 1950s and 1960s, sightings around Shasta became so common that newspapers began publishing stories of wild hairy men spotted in the forests. Some describe the creature as terrifying, while others believe it's a shy but gentle guardian of the mountain. Our story starts one night when a boy named Chris from Oregon and his cousin Lisa were roasting marshmallows at their campsite near the mountain. Just as the fire was starting to get low, they heard branches snapping nearby, and whatever they were hearing sounded large, really large. Scared and shaking, Lisa said to Chris, "It's probably a deer, right, Chris?" Trembling with fear, Chris, who was also scared with his eyes wide open, didn't say a word. The sounds continued and got closer and closer. Not being able to move or make a sound, Chris and Lisa saw a huge shadow peek through the woods, and slowly they saw a huge creature appear. This creature was taller than any man they'd ever seen. It was shaggy, covered with hair all over, even on its face. And they noticed an unpleasant smell in the air, much like a smelly skunk or your dad's smelly socks.
Ew!
Trembling, Chris's eyes went wide, and he screamed, "Bigfoot!" The creature stopped in its tracks and stood tall, and it looked at them, but not in a scary way, but in a weird, gentle manner, as if the creature meant no harm to them. The large, hairy creature put up both of its hands, as if it was saying it comes in peace, moving very slowly. At that moment, the Bigfoot pointed slowly into the dark woods, as if he wanted them to look in that direction. That's when Chris and Lisa saw their dog, Max, stuck and whimpering behind a fallen log. They immediately sprang into action and ran over to set Max free. As they were finished, they instantly turned around to see the Bigfoot, but when they did, the Bigfoot was gone. However, the smell of a stinky skunk was still fresh in the air.
Ew!
Filled with excitement, they stayed up talking about what they just experienced. They stayed up so long that the sun came up, and when their parents came out of their tents from sleeping, they rushed over to tell them what had happened.
Dad!
From that day on, they knew the mountain's gentle giant was out there, keeping an eye on campers who needed help. Or at least, that's what they thought. What would you do if you came face to face with Bigfoot that has been seen numerous times around Mount Shasta? Would you run, Or would you try to communicate with it? Whatever you do, if you happen to see something mysterious while visiting Mount Shasta with your family, please send your photos to storiesattalesforyourtrip.com. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel, where we'll be posting more stories about vacation destinations all over the country. Do you have a scary or bizarre story about a place you've visited? If you do, let us know where it is in the comments, and we'll do our very best to create an episode on it. And that, explorers, is the end of our journey today. From glowing friends in white robes to dancing lights, and even Bigfoot, Mount Shasta is full of wonders waiting to be discovered. Every road has a story, and some stories never end. Remember to stay spooky, know that monsters are real, and always be on the lookout for something weird and bizarre on your next vacation.